So we're doing a school bus. My wife, my 2-year-old son, and our 1-month-old baby. And I decided to put in-floor radiant hydronic heating. I really went over this a lot in my head, and we've got 5/8 inch thick plywood already on the floor, 1/8 inch sheet metal steel underneath that supporting the whole thing, which is all in great shape. It's not rusty, it's good. So I've also noticed that a lot of people doing these buses obviously get really excited about doing the household part of it, but I think it gets forgotten. This is still a vehicle that needs to go down the road, and you need to, whatever access ports there were that the bus came with, you need to maintain those. And you don't want to discover when you're out in the middle of nowhere that you can't get to something to fix it. So I would advise to everybody to pay attention to that. And that's why I'm lifting the sheet up to show you. Right here, there's a hole cut in the floor by the factory. Actually, probably by the school district. This is where the fuel filter's there. It runs down here. That's where the clamps are that hold the rubber lines that allow the fuel to get into the fuel tank. So it probably is pretty difficult to get this tank out without being able to get to those screws. But at least I'm aware of it. And I'm pretty sure I can put a little coupling up ahead of this so I don't have to leave this accessible, because I don't want to do it because it's right in the middle of my heating. But I am paying attention when I run into stuff like this and not just covering it over. And also a little side note on hose clamps. Whenever you put hose clamps on, you always want to put the screw in such a way that you can get to it later. Because you got to remember that. Usually you put a hose clamp on something and then there might be parts you put on after it that will cover that screw head and you can't get to it later. So, but being a mechanic for years, you learn that the hard way. And there's tons of dirt and hair and kid stuff and you name it in these gaps. So every time I come in here and do some work, I come around the sides and I blast it out with air, vacuum it. And actually, I was never a big fan of the leaf blower, but when they came out with the electric one, the battery powered, this Milwaukee thing is better than my gas powered one. Hands down, it's quiet. My kid loves it, which is a little annoying because he can find triggers on anything. He's like a magician that way. But the point I'm getting at is I sweep in here, I vacuum, but I also use this. And I'll hit the floor, which I'm not gonna do because the family's in here, but I'll hit the floor and then I just bring it up in the air like this and it takes all of the dust and everything out the back window. And then you can clear the air pretty quickly. Hatches. Someone said on one of the videos they leak. Yeah, he's right, they just leak. But it's not what you would think. It's not like the actual hatch part. It's this reciprocating plastic piece that's on the roof just gets cracked and brittle and the caulking isn't good and they leak. But here's the catch. They don't really leak inside right here at these screws. Mine, at least, leak in between the two layers of the roof skins, and they run down in the skin and they come out a screw hole here or down through this valley or drip down the window. So very deceptive, but it comes from the hatch. And by coincidence, or maybe on purpose, I have a guess, it's the forward rib of this forward hatch and the forward rib of the aft hatch that both seem to have some weakening on the seam on the roof. I think it's just because it's right where the opening was cut in the roof. It makes it a little weaker. So the metal kind of wiggles over here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. That might be really annoying in the video. Anyway, hold on a minute. Hey. Just give me a second. So, I'm not sure what we're going to do, if I'm going to make my own, buy some, because I'm probably going to make a roof deck. And if I do that, I'm going to have a whole different tile system here. So for right now, I'm just going to yank this front one out so it doesn't leak, cover it with some 6mm visqueen, and get on with it. All right, so back in the video again. This is my son, Soren. We watch a lot of videos that have families doing buses, but my wife always says, well, where are all the kids? I never see them, so we figured we'd just leave them in. We actually have a lot of options to send them anywhere else, but anyway, so this is Soren, he's in here. I'll try to keep him sort of managed. The layout we decided on the bus is putting the bed in the back. It's kind of the only place to put it for us. It's a king-size bed, we co-sleep, so we gotta have the room back here for everybody. It's gonna run right up to this back old seat rest, basically, and we're gonna have it a little bit lower than this, where kids might sleep. We'll probably use it as storage. We're gonna leave this emergency exit. I believe in exits being functioning, as many as you can, because that's not touched on enough in these buses. These things can be death traps. You start covering them up, you don't have fire extinguishers. You got batteries in here. You can have shorts. You got propane. I want to be able to get out, and I want my family to understand it. So anyway, that's staying. But king bed comes to here where the blue tape is. Of course, it'll lift. We'll have a shelf and a drawer and stuff on the sides and yada yada. Then we're gonna have. Oh, actually, you can measure right now. Won't fit. So we're gonna have a washer dryer, probably Bosch or LG, the smaller apartment style, 2.2 cubic foot, on either side above the wheel wells, and then above that we'll have closet space. But we do want a washer dryer to go through a lot of clothes with the kids. And the smaller size we realized isn't an inconvenience really, because it's just the washing machine just becomes our clothes hamper. The clothes go right into your washing and done, throw the dryer. Next in line on this side are our bunk beds, which are which are 74 inches long, 30 inches wide. We'll put 2 of them. The kids are so small now, we'll probably put a full-size mattress so an adult can be in there. But we'll do storage for one end. I'm not sure we're gonna box them off, but we'll put something. Right here, this section will be a closet and pantry or whatever else. On this side, we put the bathroom, which was my wife's idea, and it was brilliant. The actual commode, which is gonna be a composting toilet. We're gonna put that right adjacent to the emergency exit. So this thing is not in the way, but it's still a functioning exit, another way out, especially with the kids' bunks right here. They can jam out that way, and I'm also gonna have exits over here. I'm not a freak, I've just been around warehouses, warehouse fires. You never need it until you do, and then if you don't have it, it's too late. So, hey, be careful.
You had to show them that.
Yeah, I know, I had to screw that up. Okay, so the toilet goes to here, facing this way. Give you the demonstration everybody seems to need to do. That's the toilet. We're putting in a bathtub. We're going with a 55 inch, I believe. A standard is 60. Same about a half a foot, still 30 inches wide. My wife likes to take baths. The kids, we want to wash them. We got a dog. It's just, and to me, the 1 foot you're saving by putting a shower basin in over a slightly smaller than stock bathtub isn't worth it. And we've regained that because all of our walls are only going to be 1.5 inches thick. I'm making them out of aluminum square tube and I'm sheeting them. I see a lot of buses built with full size 2x4s. If you think about that, if you have 3, okay, let's look at the wall. So the wall's going to be a 2x4, which is 3.5. Let's say up to a 1/2 inch on either side for the finishing. So that's 4.5 inches, right? If you have 3 walls, just 3, going lengthways in your bus, but perpendicular too, that's over 1 foot of linear feet you've given up. So it's a very important consideration in small space like this. Every inch counts. You got Play-Doh on his face. So anyway, back to the tub. We decided to go with the tub. We just want a tub. Kitchen's going to be in this next area here. Oh, so actually, the tub and the sleeping area, both sides come out to about 32 inches. So this is, you can see the walkways about this way. It's going to be the narrowest walkway in here, but I'm okay with it. All the drawers will still work, and it's the sleeping area anyway. So down here we're going to have, right here is the fridge. We're going with a 24 inch, slightly smaller, like a 10 cube thing. It's like 60 inches tall. Yeah. So there's the fridge. 6 feet of counter on that side, past the fridge, 8 feet of counter here, 1 built-in 3-person condo seating bed area. Nothing on this side because we're going to play with different chairs and experiment with stuff and have a place for the kids to do whatever. We're going to put the sink on this side because when you're in the kitchen, you do most of your work. I noticed at the sink, they always are the things with the window, so you want to look out. And this is the sort of the family side of the bus. It's always the passenger side. So we'll put the sink on this side, stove on the other side. The other added benefit of that is I want all of my heat and exhaust ports to be on this side of the bus, not on the kids' side. So it focuses the utilities over there. All right, so a few things. This isn't well organized, but I just want to talk about it because they're very helpful. Well, number 1, knee pads. Old, young, these are invaluable. If you like to work long hours, you can't take better care of your body than put knee pads on. I like these OCC ones, the leather, because then if you use them inside, they don't damage floors, and they're super comfortable. But, okay, so a couple things. A lot of these screws are seized. They're tough to get out. You can strip the screw heads. Hey, can I have that? Can I have that, please? So you can grind them off, but that's messy, and then you got a hole and yada yada to deal with. There's a thing called an impact driver. The tip on the end of this is Phillips, which it's a 1/2 inch socket, or sorry, 3/8. So you can put whatever type fastener device you want on there. Now this one happens to be broken because I just broke it, but the way this works is it's spring loaded in either direction. So when you're going to take a screw off, you go to the counterclockwise twist on it, set it on the screw, and then when you hit it with a hammer, as you hit it, it drives the bit into the screw, and at the last minute it puts a twist in it. So it breaks screws loose. It's incredible. It works on motorcycle bolts, anything aluminum, housing. This is invaluable, number one. Number two, probably everybody knows what this is, but if you don't, it's called a Wonder Bar. It's a flat bar. Don't buy the substitutes. They're wrong. This geometry here is perfect. This has been worked out over the years, and this tool goes everywhere with me, and he loves it too. Now, this is just Play-Doh. It has nothing to do with it, but my son put it there. When they heat these buses, they use the water from the engine, the cooling system, to run radiators in the bus itself, and they have long coolant lines that run from front to rear. So it makes a mess if you're not careful. So what these are, you can get them at Harbor Freight. They just pinch any line closed and hold whatever fluid is in it in them. So you come into here, you would have had a huge mess. I just go to each end where the clamps are, clamp one on one end, clamp the other one on the other, cut them, you get a little bit of a spill, put a rag under it, take it out of the bus, and you're done. And you can get them cheap at Harbor Freight. Snap-on sells them for a lot of money, but there's really no difference. This is for getting the hoses off. That little sharp, but not sharp. It won't puncture, but anyway, what this does is it goes, look over here, and you imagine there's a coolant hose on there. You can stick this between the fitting and the hose and run it around, and it doesn't hurt the hose, but it breaks it free, and then you can peel it off without wrecking it. And then the last tool is over here. Blowgun. A lot of you are going to know what these are, but this is a blowgun with an extension. I think this is actually Snap-on, and actually I put these bends in it. It comes straight, but I found that it was more functional that way. This, I go to it all the time. Like all these gaps in here, you put it down in there, drag it down with the air on, and man, it makes a fast job out of a potentially difficult job. So this, forgive me if I'm dwelling on the obvious for a lot of people that already know all this stuff, but if you don't, there's a lot of fasteners on the bus that look like a Phillips, but are actually really a square drive. You can use a Phillips, I think a number three. Number three? Yeah, number three. But the way better tool is a square drive. It goes in there and it won't slip. So just bear that in mind when you get to a lot of these that look like that. That's actually a square drive. That's the most functional tool for this.